If you've been following this channel for quite some time, then you might have noticed that I like two things in particular. One of them being creating artwork from one anchor point and the other one being animation. I'm doing both of them in Illustrator, of course, and since Max is just a day away, let's take a look at this artwork where I have animated this Max logo. The animation you might have seen on the Adobe channels, and I have built it from one anchor point. Or in this case, it's actually two anchor points. How does that work? Let's take a look at the Illustrator file, which is this one. Now, first of all, let's take a look at the Max logo itself. I'm just showing the principle of this. So you take the anchor point and then you take, of course, the appearance panel. And in the appearance panel, you can set up these fills, and I'm going to make it red. And then you can apply the effect and apply convert to shape, rectangle, and then make it in a specific size. And if you have this fill, then you can apply additional effects. And in this case, of course, that would be free distort, in which you can get this into any size, like this perhaps. And this is how I have built the logo. So we've got a couple of fills that have convert to shape applied, which is a rectangle here, a rectangle there, and then another one. So we have four rectangles for this M, and then another 3 for the A, and then another 4 for the X. That's how the base logo has been built. On top of that, of course, we need all these extrusions. These shapes are extruded. Let's scroll to the end of this. Here you see that. So we've got the extrusions. These I have built. Let's take a look at this one here. They are using Astute graphics Blockshadow. And in this case, I couldn't do it on the base shapes directly because at one point there is an overlapping. In here you see some things overlap, so I had to make different shapes. Here you see that. I had to make different shapes. The red ones are their own fills, and then I have added additional fills, which are just copies of the red ones, and the extrusion is applied to those. And that's why there are so many fills in this appearance panel for this one anchor point, because the red ones are just the face of the letters, and then the other ones with the color applied, they are the extrusions. And they are basically copies of the red ones with the extrusions applied. So what I have done there, let's take one of the blue ones, for instance. Here we have the Blockshadow, and it has these effects applied. It has the extrusion in a certain angle, and that is this. So that's how this has been built. Let's undo that. And then, of course, in the end frame, they have been moved. What's happening there is the positioning of these letters, of course, has to be done with effects. You apply transform effects in order to move these fills where you need them to be. And in the end frame, you move them to another position so that they give you the impression that they are actually moving. And then, of course, you need the extrusion also applied in the start frame, but in the start frame, they are all set to 0. So here we have a length of 0 applied, and in the end frame, we have a different length applied. So that's how the thing basically works. And when you have effects that have different settings in the start frame and in the end frame, then you can create an animation. And in this case, Illustrator has a nice functionality to build an animation. So for that, you can select them both. And you see there are a lot of empty artboards in between. And I'm using artboards actually for exporting the animation I'm creating. I'm using GIF Studio for that, but of course you could just export the artboards as static images and piece them together in Photoshop. I have a video about that I'm going to link in the comments. So how do you create that? You select both of these anchor points, and let's just take a look into the layers panel so that you can see it's really just only anchor points. So here we have both of these objects that are currently selected, those two, which have effects applied as the target symbol shows us. And then let's take another look into the outline view, and you see there's just nothing to see here. Let's take a look at the preview again, and we are going to apply the blend. So let's make a blend, and you see just one step in between. Let's double click the blend tool and set this to specified steps. And then we can create some more until we have an artwork in each artboard, like this. And this makes this animation. So that's all you need to do. And then the next thing is just use the extension GIF Studio to export that. And just going to create that like this. I'm going to import all of these because the other ones are just copies. So let's get that. And you see we've got a nice animation here. We're going to select all of them, set this to 0.1 and OK. And you see in the end I have just reversed that and added that, which you can do with these buttons. And then let's just play that. So here we've got the animation, and you see for the other direction I have just done that in GIF Studio by duplicating and reversing the direction of the movement. So that's how I have built that. And you see, you can create nice animations using Astute graphics plugins as well.